so just a little bit of an intro into my experience with Philips, and it's the most common, by far the most common commercial TV that I've sold in the past, and with Matt we've been involved in a whole bunch of different projects. We had a motel, I think in Box Hill, we had Monash University, Clayton, and we had, recently we had a big government job. When it comes to brands, Philips is a pretty easy sell, really. European company, a lot of support out of the Netherlands. Monash was an IPTV setup, so we needed to do a lot of changes, and Philips were very accommodating. In Australia also, they're extremely accommodating. I know with the motel, Paul Matt spent a Saturday upgrading firmware. Monash University, we had the builders who unplugged all the TVs and plugged them all back into a service port, and I don't know who went out to fix that up, but someone did. These are cases where Philips have not, in the case of Monash, they weren't at fault, but their support was there either way. And I can't say the same about, other brands. So I've gravitated over the years towards Philips, and that's the recommended brand. The warranty on just about all the Philips models is a 3-year on-site warranty. And so that's also, the fact that it's on-site, and on-site isn't necessarily an easy thing, that's kind of unique. I think you mentioned that you had some support on a job in some terrible location. I can't remember where it was, Northern Territory or somewhere.
Claude and I on Sunday, they got me to Chadston at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, 6:30 in the morning. Yeah, you're not going to sell me
to do a video wall. We have to get it done. Change out a faulty video wall products before trade.
So with commercial jobs, these are massive things. The cost of TVs versus the cost of labour. It's just one of those things that TVs are worth peanuts and labour's worth a lot. So in that respect, having a European brand, having support is really good. In terms of product also, you'll find that people in the commercial sector really support Philips. And our success rate on quotes has been extremely good. I'm struggling to remember one that we've lost. Just perhaps introduce yourself to Matt, take down some details and work with him on a quote. Don't just quote it, get him involved, because it's hard to work out. It's a very dynamic industry, and it's hard to work out what's going on. So Matt is our contact in sales. And we've got Che here, who's going to be giving us the training. We had some training yesterday, and a great resource. One last thing, so I'm talking a little too much. This session is about digital signage. As a prompt, just think about any situation where your customer is doing posters as a very starter. If you see a poster, digital signage is now becoming a real alternative, again, because of costs and whatnot. The second one, we sell thousands and thousands of Micro 2s, and there are a factor of times more jobs where they're using USBs in TVs. That is obsolete technology by now. And in many ways, it's going to be cheaper for them to buy a digital signage TV. So as soon as you hear USBs, or as soon as you hear a Micro 2, try to convert it across to a digital signage, because the sale size will be around 20 times as big when you're selling a TV as opposed to a media player, and the customer's going to be more happy. So really simple solution, but lots of opportunity. I think you referred to it as a gold rush at the moment.
It is, yeah. It's a complete gold rush. Yeah.
All right, I'll hand across the chat. Thank you.
Okay. No worries. All right, so my name is Che. I'm one of the technical pre-sales at West End. We're showing a couple of products in the signage range and the hotel TV, but we're focusing on the signage just for the moment. This is an example of a Philips screen with Android on board. Because we've got Android on board, the option is there to install your own app. So we've actually partnered with a digital creative agency to create our own app. The brief was to create an app that's for digital signage that's easy to use, intuitive, basically gives an end user a means to update screens remotely from the cloud. That was the brief. This is what we've come up with, Fusion Signage. So the screen that has the app loaded, all you're giving to the screen is power and network connection, access to the internet. And as long as you have access to the internet to manage the content from, to log into the Fusion portal, you can control the content on the screen. So I'm just browsing to the Fusion Signage portal. I'll log in. This is our own account at the moment. So Fusion is, there's 2 levels of license for Fusion Signage. And this first screen sort of gives you an overview of where you're sitting for the month in terms of license usage and how much bandwidth and transfers you've been using for the month as well. Each license gives you 1 gig of storage on the cloud, as well as 1 gig of transfers, which resets every month. So this is giving you an overview here. But the areas that you would deal with are here on the left. It's very simple, intentionally that way, just to make it as easy as possible to pick up. So we've got screens, media library, playlists, and schedules. So I'm just going to look at the screens at the moment. So this is our own account, and these are the screens that we've got added to our account, which is across our branches across Australia. This screen here is this entry. So you can see some simple information, name of the screen, which you can rename to be whatever you want. You can see what's currently playing or what's been assigned to the screen, whether a screen is online or offline, and when it was last updated. So it's just some simple metrics there. To give you an idea of the main task, I guess, of updating a screen, how easy it is, essentially, it's a matter of clicking that control. It'll pop up a list of playlists that you've already created. Select a new playlist, submit it, and that's the operation done. So right now, it's just a matter of how fast the connection to the screen is and how much or how large the content is that you're trying to push across to the screen. That'll dictate how long it takes to download. But the app checks every minute or so it should remain updated quite quickly. So that should update shortly anyway. Oh, it's already done. Okay. So that you can see there is just a couple of clicks, and it's intended for end users like in retail stores, hairdressers, that sort of thing. People who are not necessarily technologically minded, they can pick this up easily and control their content. So to give you an idea of what an end user would go through to create a playlist, I'll go through that now. Basically, you would upload your content to the media library, which is the cloud. Once the content is there, you can then create playlists using that content. And when you've got your playlist ready to go, you can assign it to screens like what I've just done before. So I'll show you what it's all about. If I jump into the media library, we've got these categories here. So you can upload your content in a category. You can categorize it, group it together, which makes it easier to locate at a later stage when you're building your playlists. So you can create a new category, give it a name, and when you're selecting content, you're basically browsing your own system, USB, whatever it is, to I just choose one of those to upload. So I'm uploading this video file to the cloud at the moment. I'm just tethering off my phone, but it gives you an idea of how it would go. It's intended for finished images and finished videos, so full screen images and videos. That's just as simple as we can make it. There's no canvas or anything that you're creating and having multiple images or text or anything like that. Just straight images and straight video. Images are JPEGs and PNGs, and videos are MP4s, so standard sort of formats. So once you've got your content there, uploaded into the cloud, now you can go ahead and create a playlist. So I jump into the playlist area. Again, this is our playlist that we've already previously created. But if I wanted to create a new one, I'd go to the Add Playlist area, give it a name. So here's this new empty playlist ready to add content to. So I click add content. It pops up the whole media library that you've already uploaded to. So you can pick and choose from there if you want, or you can simply filter it using those categories that you've already previously created, like that. So it's just point and click sort of deal, adding content to the playlist. So here's a new playlist that I've just created, made up of 3 items. You can see there's an image here and a video here. If I wanted to remove something, that's fairly straightforward. If I wanted to reorganize it, that's also easy. Images by default will be 3 seconds duration, but you can change that to be whatever you want. All fairly straightforward so far. Once you get the playlist the way you want, you can publish it. And then you go back to your screens, find the screen that you want to update. Here's that new playlist, submit it, and there we go. So in a few clicks, a few minutes, you've added content to the cloud, you've created a playlist, and you're now pushing it out to the screen. So that's the most basic operation, and pretty much the full feature set of the basic level of license. There's 2 levels of license, so the advanced level brings on a couple of extra features. There's grouping available, and that's exactly as it suggests. You're able to group multiple screens together, so you can update an entire group at the one time, which is good if you're talking about clients with multiple sites across many locations. They want to update all in one go.
So grouping guys, if you've got, say, someone like Metro is doing the display rooms, you can say group the South Australian display rooms separately to the Victorian display rooms. Or within a store, if there's a window screen and a counter screen, you could group them as window screens and then counter screens and update the TVs. 100 TVs and windows with pushable buttons.
So we've got an
Advanced license and standard, I think it's $40.
Yeah, it's $179 cost for a 3-year for the basic license to you guys, and it's $210 for the advanced license. Generally, you're just going to go with the advanced license because it gives you the groupings and it gives you the calendar scheduling, and most people want that. So we think of the basic license is for someone who is on site, like someone like a little hairdresser who's actually working in their shop and just wants one screen. As soon as you go beyond that, you're going to want the better license. And it's not a lot of money. It's a 3-year license, inclusive of cloud storage. The nuts and bolts of the TV, once the app is installed, you basically schedule the app like you would a HDMI. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, the TV turns on and it auto boots the app and it plays the whole schedule. And then at what the designated time that you told the TV to turn off, it turns off, and then it just keeps repeating. So you're not streaming. Once the content is downloaded and stored on the TV, if the internet goes off, it's just going to keep playing the whole schedule continuously till the season update. So the competitors to this market are things like USB playback, which is just exceptionally painful, and we take a lot of people who are doing it that way and migrate them into this. There's a couple of competitors. Samsung have a product called Magic Info, which if you buy up to 10 screens is free. There's not really any support, so you sell the Magic Info screen and then you end up doing all the support for no revenue, no income. And then after 10 screens, it's $400 a year, so it becomes quite expensive quickly. And also, it's super complicated. The beauty to this is because it's not a content creation tool, it doesn't do anything other than full images and pictures. It's very simple to teach people how to use. And that's probably 99% of the market. The need for RSS feeds and weather widgets is just about dead for most people. They just want a picture of their shoes or their undies or whatever they're selling. Menu boards, that's it.
Yeah, so just touching a bit more on the grouping. I've got an example here of just one way that a user could organise their groups. It's completely up to the user exactly how they do it. But in this example, we've created groups based on location. So you might have your state broken down into various suburbs, and then within those suburbs there might be multiple stores for a given suburb. And so each of these groups can have their own playlist assigned. So you can have a parent group assigned a different playlist to a child group. So you can tier it in that fashion as well. So the other feature that comes on the advanced level license is schedules. So like what Matt was just describing, when you add a schedule, and I'll give it a name, it opens up this calendar style of format with all these time slots. And each of those time slots can be assigned a different event or a different bit of content. So you would say to yourself, I want content to start playing at 8 a.m. or one type of content to start playing at 8 a.m. And I want this content to play. We'll give it a name. We'll say it's a morning menu or something. And I want it playing every day of the week. And I want it playing forever. Whoops. There we go. Add schedule. So it adds this event, and then you can drag that down and say you want it to finish playing at midday. And then you can do the same thing again from midday, but at that time you want a different bit of content playing. And call this afternoon menu. Same days of the week. And now you want this playing maybe until 6 p.m. You get the idea. You're basically building up a schedule with multiple events so that when the screen hits this time, it'll play the content that you've assigned to that morning event. And then it'll switch over to the next content at midday. So pretty much as many time slots as there are, you can have that many different events or different bits of content playing throughout the day. So once you get the content created, the schedule created, you save that and you go back to the screens. And instead of assigning a playlist, you're instead assigning a schedule. That's essentially it. That's the whole feature set of Fusion. Intentionally kept as simple as possible, just to aid faster uptake and to keep it intuitive. There's a few little additions that we're adding on now as well, in regards to the types of content that you can put on the screen. So we're trying to create templates for different market segments. So the first one that we've sort of done is a real estate segment where we've had a lot of success or a lot of interest in the real estate area for clients wanting to advertise one or more houses across multiple sites. So we've created a template for this specific market, and the idea is that we can create templates for other markets or even custom templates moving forward. But just to give you an idea, let's see. So this is a template that I've set up previously, which is made up of 4 listings. And if I was to remove one of these for the minute, just to demonstrate, if I wanted to add a new listing, you click that control and you can pre-fill it. Well, you can fill it with your own information. You can type your own description and whatever it is. But the idea is that, if I just get this up and running, so if I go to realestate.com, find that link, the idea is that you can pre-fill with this link, and it automatically adds in all this data here that's already been uploaded onto Real Estate. So scraping that info, just do a little bit of text formatting to make sure it all looks nice. It's already got the pricing and the beds and whatnot. It's uploaded a few of the images. And it allows you to build this particular listing template pretty much in no time at all. So we've got four houses listed here. There's also another template for a single house, like a hero type of image. And this is one example of a template that we're adding on as an additional feature to Fusion. So there's always little improvements that we're making. So yeah, that's us for Fusion.
questions?
In a situation where you've got playlists scheduled, and a scheduled playlist might be, some pretty large files, are they downloaded from the cloud every time that playlist is
If it's new,
in the schedule, or is it stored in like a cache?
when you first assign the schedule, it'll download everything it needs for that entire schedule at the beginning, at the first opportunity. So it's all there ready to go. Even if you lose connection, it'll still continue on playing that schedule.
So there's 16 gig of memory on the TV, and it's expandable as well. So
Yeah, some of that's taken up by OS, but yeah, you got plenty of space. Yeah.
you can do portrait or landscape. The badges are removable, and again with the warranty, it's 3 years on site. Part of the selling of it is because you have got a media player and a lead. There's less complexity in the install, and there's less potential for issues. We have mainly using Linux. So if you go to a job, and I can give you an example, Warehouse came in probably about 3 months ago into our office with a reseller of ours. They were complaining about the cost of their, sorry, not Warehouse.
Shaver shop.
Shaver shop came in, complaining about the cost of their media players. They were $1,500 each, and they were lasting an average of 2 years. So they said it's just too expensive. They were looking for a more basic solution. So that was a Wednesday. They came in, they looked at this. Thursday they made us go and do a retrofit at Chatty, because it's around the corner and their head office is in Chadson. On Monday, they told us to retrofit 60 stores, and then after that they were just buying Android on board scraps. So I told the boys yesterday, part of the sales process is we kind of like to get involved. So if you have customers that you're working on, we're not only happy to help, we really want to help, because it gets us generally a better result. So we all win. And what we usually do, it's a really simple, easy sale, is Che will create a playlist, we'll grab a whole bunch of images from a potential client. We walk in with a TV as a Fusion TV, and then in front of them, he'll create their TV in 10 minutes or 5 minutes, and they'll have a playlist running of what they want to run in their store, and they just go, that's too easy. And it's generally, I can give you some examples. I told these boys yesterday, I think my quickest sales field is 1.5 minutes. The guy basically just said, don't worry about it, it just makes sense. How do I retrofit my existing office? Che and I did a demo for a pizza store. Now these guys understand signage. The demo took 7 minutes. And at 7 minutes, the owner said, you can stop talking. We're in. They ripped out their Sonic TVs and put in these. They didn't go retro, they were garbage TVs, they just pulled them out. And the reason being, they understood signage because they own 30 Subway stores. And they were like, we're paying way too much for, they told us how much they're paying for their Subway stores for signage. And he's like, I don't understand why we just don't have this. So yeah, he actually told me during the conversation that it was too cheap. And he didn't know how we were making any money. Yeah, so only customers ever said that to me. Yeah.
The comment on portrait, a lot of digital signage is portrait because for humans, people are used to screens looking like this, so a lot of digital signage, if it's a screen that looks unusual, it draws our attention. But not every model, I think D series and above are portrait.
Yeah, so this is D series. The range starts with a non-Android based series, and then it's a 4K Android based series, which is not really designed for portrait. This D series, which is now our most popular selling range, which goes from 32 to 65, but we have from 32 to 98 with Android on board. Yeah, this is the one we sell the most of now. So it's funny how previously, before we had Android, the best selling range was always the cheapest product, which is that Q line. Now the most popular selling series is the D line. And because it does portrait and landscape, because it's warranted for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so you can just use it. And the Android, all those things, and it's a bit brighter. And strangely enough, you don't think of this as a retail TV. Most of the digital signage people or customers will take brightness over resolution. So they don't care if it's 1080p or 4K. Brighter is better. So, because it's just creating impact. And slow transitioning slides, it's not about having 400 images, it's usually a slow transition, 15, 20 seconds per slide, and then it just changes to the next one. It really is, in a lot of cases, just poster replacement. or light box replacement in the case of many boards. And you guys have sold some already. Darren did a pub in Geelong, and he was telling me yesterday they like it so much. They started off at 2, they've already bought 4, and they want to do a whole bunch more. And they started off with a USB conversation, so that's how it started with them. So happy to work with you guys. And I know that some of your customers have bought signage panels from me using this. Someone like Andy Axoy, he's done a couple of cafes and stuff using this. So there's no reason he can't buy from you guys. And we're not going to cater lunch because it can't be bothered. Yeah.
Shop windows, I mean, you're talking about brightness. Would you go an H line or which?
Yeah, so if you go QD is 450 nit, P line is either 500 or 7 nit. The really big difference between D line and P line is actually in the build quality of the TVs. A D series is still plastic back and fairly lightweight. Once you get to a P series, if you guys have seen an old commercial panel, which weighs about 600 million kilos, that's a P line. To give you an example, in a 42 inch, a 43 and a 42 comparison, in a D line, it's a 43, in a P line it's a 42. That 42 inch weighs 6 kilos more than the equivalent D series. It's just built like a tank. So even on paper, it's 500 nit versus 450. It's not really about the brightness in this case, it's really about if you're going to put it in a window or you're going to smash it out in a KFC where it's a toxic environment, a P line is the best result. And then above that, we have some in-window TVs in the H line, which are 2.5 and 3,000 nit. So if you want a suntan, put a 3,000 nit inside and you'll know what brightness is. Yeah, so it's designed to really combat the sun. Anything below 2,500 nit, sun always wins. Sun wins in general anyway, but 700 nit is still probably an indoor or under eaves where there's a bit of shade.
Does the environment they're in affect the warranty at all? Like you said, it's in like the KFC, like above,
No.
fries and stuff.
No, you just got to be a bit sensible about it. Try and sell the right product for the right location. If you put a 2,500 nit out in the sun's going to win. I can give you some examples of the MCG has a whole bunch of Christies which were really expensive. They would have been $10,000 each in the pillars outside the ground. As you go west, they lasted 6 months. The TV's blistered, and the reason they blistered is whoever installed them put a plastic sheet of Perspex over the LCD screen, and even though they're air conditioned, it just created a heat and they blistered. So you've got to be careful. When you get to that level, you've got to be careful of where they go and what environment they're in. But the general sales are indoor, in a shopping centre, on a strip shed, behind a counter. 450 nit is more than adequate for most people inside a shop, and that's what we generally sell. In windows, you're going to want 700 nit if you can. But yeah, when the sun comes up, if it's in the sun, you won't see a 700 nit in full sun. You just won't be able to see the picture at all. Yeah, and then we have a range of touchscreens in the T line from 10 inch to 86, and then we have video wall in 49 and 55, and you can still retrofit. So we use the mini players, as I said earlier, if you want to retrofit into an existing job with screens. So if you're doing a video wall and you want to run this software, just buy a mini player, we install the software for you, and away you go. Cool. That's it, I think.
All right.
All right.
So-
we're going to talk about hotel TV. Philips have been doing hotel TV for 41 years. They're the longest company to do built from the ground up hotel TV. It's still all made in Europe. It's 8 weeks on the water to get here. There is a very unique feature set in these TVs, which no one else really has. They're a full Android commercial TV. It's different to this Android, and Jay can do all the talking in this regard, but it's really designed for large TV deployment. So aged care, hospitals, hotels, student accommodation. There's a complete management tool on how to run the TVs and how to create this splash page on the TVs. I'll let Jay talk.
Yeah, okay, so this is an example of one of the Media Suite hotel TVs. There's a few reasons why you would choose to go a hotel TV and a Philips one at that over, say, a domestic or an aged care or hospital or something like that. First would be branding. So we've got an example here of it's essentially a website that's sitting on a feature. We've set the TV to start up on this feature. So you can imagine a guest, when they turn on the TV, this is the first thing they'll see. It's branded with the hotel's name. We've got some buttons or links there to focus on various features that the hotel may want the guest to interact with. We've got maybe some sort of information, a bit like an onboard compendium style of format. It could just as easily have a link where there's advertising the dining menu for an on-site restaurant. We've got shortcuts to various apps for casting and streaming services. So it's really up to the user how they create this. But branding is a big thing with these hotel TVs. The other important thing is that everything to do with the settings on these TVs is locked away behind a professional menu. It requires a specific code to access, or you have a master remote to access this menu. Everything from setting switch on volume levels, maximum volume levels, modifying channel lists, picture settings, the whole lot basically is all controlled via this professional menu. So you can configure a TV the way you want the guest to experience or have an experience with the TV, and save those settings, and every time you turn off the TV and turn it back on, it'll always restart to those settings. So you're guaranteeing a specific experience for the guest. As well as that, you can export those settings onto a USB. You can take it around to multiple TVs as you're deploying them. The first time you switch on the TV with that USB plugged in with those settings, the first thing the TVs will do will flash the settings essentially. So it really aids in fast deployment for TVs for large rollouts, 20, 50, 100 TVs in a hotel, for example. But as well as that, you can take those settings into and import them into a system called Command, which is Philips's monitoring and management platform, as well as a platform to create content like what you see here. So I'll show you what Command is all about. Command is a Windows-based application. It sits on a server within the network where these TVs are. It's free as well, so it's like a value add for buying into the Philips brand. And like I was saying, it's a way for managing and monitoring TVs on the network. So this screen here, I'm actually logged into our system back at our office at the moment. So we've got a few TVs in our network that we play around with. But this could just as easily be, 50 TVs in a hotel, for example. You can see some simple information. You can rename the TVs as well, identify it by room ID or IP address. But importantly, you've also got visibility over the software version and the clone version. The clone is those settings that I was talking about, which you've configured on the TV. So you can select one or more TVs and update the software or the clone file, the settings for the TV from a central location. So no longer does a maintenance staff member need to go around to each room to either reset the TV or reflash the TV with different settings. It really cuts that entire process out of the picture, basically. So the clone file that I was talking about, you can take that clone file and upload it into this area. Each of these entries here is a different settings file, clone file. So if I drill into one of those clones, that same professional menu that I showed you just now on the TV, all those settings are here as well. So you can modify a clone, configure the settings with your keyboard and mouse, and you're not fiddling around with the remote. You'll also notice that each one of these clone files has got it's been broken up into different modules: channel packages, app packages, and content. So as well as configuring the settings, you can also configure these separate modules as well. So if I was to look at the channels, for example, and here's a channel list that was scanned on the TV that's been uploaded here. Here's a list of channels. I can modify that. I can change the name of the channel to be whatever I want, change the channel number. If I wanted to, if it's being rebroadcast out from a head end inside a hotel and you knew those settings, you can set those here as well. If I wanted to add a new channel, you're in control of any new channels that have been broadcast out from a tower. If you knew specific channel details, you can add that in. These TVs support IPTV as well, so if that's being used inside the property, you can add your own multicast addresses in there. You can hide channels, mute the video. You can group channels into different packages so that use case for that might be a higher paying or premium paying guest who would have access to additional channels, maybe some Foxtel Sports channels or other channels. You can group channels in those way and give those different groups to different paying guests. So in just the channels area, it's quite a powerful little area. Same thing with apps. These are Android-based TVs, so you can download your own app, Android TV app. If I go in here, browse your own system to add the APK to the app package, and then assign the app package to a clone. Even properties are even creating their own apps these days, maybe with guest reward integration. So really, we're seeing a lot of new developments going on at the moment as well. And the only other area that I haven't touched on is this content creation, which is also done via this software. So if I go in the CMS area, this is the content creation area. Here's this template that is sitting on this TV at the moment. If I was to go into the edit function, we were playing around with this yesterday actually, so I'll just change that. But this is the template. And you can see that it's made up of different elements. This is a background image and a logo, some text. These are also just images with actions behind them to give them the effect of having a button on the page. It's really just a website, so HTML and JavaScript. And if I wanted to modify one of these elements, like this text, like what you saw just before, you can just do that on the fly. Adding new elements. What you've got to add here is listed on the right. Text, images, videos, playlists, there's gadgets and language options as well. So if I wanted to add an image, here's a list of images within its gallery. If I wanted to add to this gallery, I can browse my own system as well. Find an image, confirm, move it around, resize it. So you're basically building up a canvas with all these different elements. These are also images with actions. So this particular button, Watch TV button, has an action to switch to the main tuner. So we'll just switch to the channels. But I could just as easily have that switch to HDMI, and maybe there's some sort of Blu-ray attached from HDMI to switch to. Maybe I want to have a button that specifically selects channel 10, or maybe a hotel information channel, a direct button to go to that channel. You can have a button that selects a feature on the TV like Miracast. Or if you're uploading your own app, you can launch your own APK. And when you assign those actions, they become buttons, and it gives this sort of effect. So you're building your canvas, and you go back to the files. And find the settings, the clone file that you want to modify. So you've already assigned channels, you've already assigned apps, and now you can also assign content. Here's all the content that I've already previously created, so I just find the content that I've just modified and assign it to the clone file. Then I can return to the TV, select the TV, and upload that new settings file to the TV. So that's a bit of a crash course on command. It's a whole bunch of additional features, but those features together, the branding, the ability to lock down and customize the experience for the user with a professional menu, and also this remote management is what these Philips Hotel TVs are all about.